Do you want to win with the white pieces in just 7 moves? With most games resulting in brutal checkmating attacks or really nice tactical murder games are usually winning for you, the fried liver is a great opening, especially in low elo. The fried liver rises when black chooses to play knight to f6. So this is now not the Italian game, this is now called the fried liver attack, and you can choose to enter it by playing the move knight to g5. Now this is the fried liver. The idea is you're putting 2 pieces attacking this f7 pawn, and there's only 1 piece defending it, the king, and as you may know, if only the king is defending a square, that square is considered quite weak, because obviously if we do here it's a check, so it's quite nasty for black to deal with that threat. And we're not threatening bishop takes the check, which does seem appealing because the king has to move and then black can't castle. You're actually threatening knight takes f7, which would fork the queen and the rook, picking up some material. So if black decides to lazily play some moves like trying to kick the knight out, you also play knight takes f7. As you can see, the eval bar is flipped, so +5 because black will move the queen and you can recapture the knight. But obviously, if black lets you do that, congratulations, you're winning in 7 moves because you're up a rook. So black probably isn't going to allow this. Black is going to play the move d5. So this is the best move in the position because it blocks the bishop. So black kind of sacrifices a pawn here for the initiative of blocking your bishop and not losing the rook. So obviously you will take that pawn, and if black recaptures with the knight, you have all sorts of sacrifices here. So yeah, you actually have knight takes f7, but an even better way to play this is actually to play the move d4. This means your knight is defended, so obviously the queen can't take because its knight is defended, and then if white decides to take, you can just castle and your rook's coming into the game, and a good move here is like bishop to e6, and you have rook e1. You can pin the bishop, queen d6, trying to get out of the way, and you just have knight takes f7 here. You can sacrifice the knight, king takes f7. It's like, you probably won't play this exact line in theory, but this is the general principles. You can get your rook in the game, and then if you ever point want to sacrifice your knight, or you have to, then you can just go queen f3 check. This hits the knight and the king, so the king has to go back, and then you just recapture this bishop because of course white's bishop is pinned. And if white wants to go to this square, that's quite a nice way to lose because you can go rook takes e6. If the queen wants to recapture and you take and pin the queen, or you can take with your queen, this is nicer. And if they decide to recapture their queen, you can take with the bishop, and that is actually checkmate because the king is boxed in by his own pieces. Another interesting variation here is actually it's called the Traxler counterattack. So you go here, and you know if I said that black plays a random move, you can just take the pawn on f7. Well, you should be a bit wary in doing that because if black plays bishop c5, looks pretty innocuous. You think, what, he's copying me? Seems a bit out of touch with the position. Not what's wanting this threat of knight takes f7. But if you take on f7, black can actually retake here with the bishop, and now this is a check. You're thinking, wait, this bishop is hanging, can't I take it? Well, if you take it, they have a move like knight takes e4, recapturing a pawn and checking your king. And the best move here is king e3, which obviously is a bit weird. Because if you go king to f1, they have things like queen f4, it's a threatening mate in 1. Maybe try and block with g3, and you're walking into things like queen f6 check. So you can check here, it says king to f3, but say you try and hide away king g2, then you're just getting mated. So obviously you don't really want to enjoy it. You don't really want to enter lines like this that are very dangerous for yourself. So my recommendation against the Traxler is you do in fact allow this, but just go king to f1. This is in fact the best move. Your opponent may have theory here, but I'll help you walk through it. So this is quite a common line. Obviously, black has to play queen to e7, otherwise you will capture that queen. So you do have time here, time to take the rook, and then black goes d5. And the very important detail here is to take with the pawn. And I'll explain that why. Because if you take with the bishop, you need the bishop, because the idea is, if you take with the bishop, white now has to move bishop to g4, and this hits your queen. Your queen is actually trapped here. There's nothing to do, as you can see, all these squares are covered by the bishops, and the queen has no way out. So you'll be losing the queen on the next move. So obviously you are up a rook, but once you lose your queen, the position is very unclear. Black is actually winning because, let's face it, you're not going to get this knight out of here. Because he's going to recapture, capture, and then, yeah, it's going to get pretty messy for you. So to avoid that, remember, you need your bishop to go back. So you take with the pawn, and if they decide to go bishop g4, now your bishop is still controlling diagonal, drop that bishop back. This is a perfectly fine position for white. You're up a lot of material. It's going to be a little bit scary. It's quite a short variation still because this bishop is still here, but if you just develop your pieces sensibly, you're going to get out of this alive and you're going to be up material, which is all that matters. So probably going to win most of these games. Another noteworthy variation of the fried liver is when black plays d5. Of course, you always take this pawn, try and liberate your bishop a little bit quicker. But the black's best move here is actually knight to a5. And if they play knight a5, you have a lot of choices here. but the best one is to go bishop to b5 check. Black's going to block with the pawn. You can take, and they take back. So here, black's pawn structure is a little bit worse. You see, they have these two isolated pawns. Now, pawn structure doesn't mean too much. You just do this to sort of clarify a situation in the center, and obviously that is a long-term thing. Maybe an endgame weakness. It's probably not going to matter too much, as I said. And you can just play the move bishop to d3 or bishop e2, and honestly, it's going to be quite a slow game, and just going to have to grind it out, maybe like a sort of classic gioco pianissimo or quiet game style. And when it comes to my games, what I usually face is the sort of d4 static variation. So we face this, knight to c6, and then my opponents usually will go d4 without fail. I will take, and if they recapture with the knight, I usually see things like this. So this is the most common move I face, and of course you go d4, and then people normally will, and people seem to like this move f6, because the bishop is not controlling here. But then here you have this stunning move, d takes e5. You can sacrifice the knight, because if black decides to take the knight, then you have just bishop takes d5 here, and you're just winning. So after a move like bishop to e7, which is the engine's best choice, you can just castle, and you're perfectly fine here. Also, another key idea to remember here is the fact that if black decides to take with the knight, well, the thing is, these knights are kind of stacked, and this knight is actually pinned to this one. So you can just play c3, and your knights are both under threat, actually, because obviously if this knight moves, it can go back here, or people seem to like to go here. That's what I normally face in my games. Then you just have bishop takes d5. But if black tries to do the other move, like b5, is what engine's saying b5 here, and you can just go bishop to d3, but I've never faced this in my games, so b5 is not a move you have to worry about. So most likely, black's going to move the knight, and then you can just take one of these knights and you're winning. If you want the easier game, you can just go queen takes d5. But if you want to sort of use the pressure a bit more, which I kind of recommend, take with the bishop. And again, look, you're just threatening the fried liver. You're threatening to take here, forcing a move like maybe knight to h6, or even a big concession like bishop to e6. And you can take, and then take, and now you're going to pick up one of these pieces. Maybe black's going to trade queens, but this endgame's completely lost because you are up a piece. So those are the sort of key lines that I face in my games, and a bit of theory so you can crush with the fried liver. And hopefully you guys can get some wins with this opening and gain some rating points. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, it should be one popping up right now that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy the most. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're approaching 400 subscribers, so I really appreciate any of you guys could join me in this journey. And yeah, that does it for today. Thank you for watching.